And it's on. All right. What is the first language of most of the students in your classes?
Well, we are a two-way dual language, so half of our students are English dominant, and the other half is Spanish dominant.
Same with Miss Smith. You both are partner
Yes.
teachers?
Yes, we partner. She's the Spanish teacher, and I'm the English teacher.
Let's see, and there are no other languages, just English and Spanish within your
English
classes?
and Spanish in our class this year.
What have you found about English that your students seem to have the most difficulty with?
With our bilingual students, the Spanish-speaking dominant students, the most difficult, the thing that is very difficult for them, aside from pronunciation, and because some of the letters make different sounds, they tend to mix them up. Like the H is silent in Spanish, and it has the H has a sound in English. The J in Spanish has an H sound, and so when they are writing, if it's an H, they tend to write a J. So they tend to mix the sounds up a little bit. So we have to try to correct that. And then the other thing is they like to they want to translate everything word for word. Word for word. So instead of saying this is Matthew's pencil, they would say this is the pencil of Matthew. And even though it's still not wrong, it's not something that we English dominant kids usually say, or we usually say Matthew's pencil, not the pencil of Matthew.
Or the opposite, when they go to my classroom, they like to translate whatever they think in English, they try to translate the same in Spanish, and it's not. So they get confused a little bit when they try to speak, the other language.
So like your example today, the little boy who said ocho centro.
He said like
instead of saying, he said
ocho centro.
He said ocho centro
instead of centro. Ocho. He was telling me ocho centro.
Because in
He's
English,
an English
so we have our stations are numbered, and he was in station 8, and so he said ocho centro, like it's backwards. When he said it, it was backwards, and it really should say centro ocho.
Because he's thinking English. Yes. You see what I'm saying? And when he's trying to talk to me in Spanish, he's thinking English, so he translated this. What
So
he
that's not only that sentence structure for both languages are getting mixed. And to not exactly to correct, but to help them understand that, how do you all handle that? Do you
we have to
retell it
the right way to say it, like centro ocho, and so then they listen to the way.
So I guess what we do, instead of saying baby that's wrong, we never want to tell them no, that's not wrong. We don't ever say that. We always say, oh, vas a ir a centro ocho, or okay, oh, this is Matthew's pencil. Like we say, we repeat it to them correctly, and then they catch
So
it themselves, and then they say it, they repeat after us. Another thing we do a lot to correct that is that as bilingual teachers or dual language teachers, we provide a lot of sentence stems. So when we're talking, we always give them, like if you see up there where we were talking about schema, we give them the sentence like straight, like this reminds me of. And then they'll know to repeat. This reminds me of, and then they tell you what they remind you. Same thing when they're writing. We always give them a sentence frame, and then they start adding. It's basically fill in the blank until they start developing the sentence structure themselves, and then we start pulling back from that.
And then pictures too. We help them a lot with that.
Visuals.
So a lot of visuals thrown in with the examples as well. Okay. Thank you. How does speaking their second language impact their learning?
It could. I mean, I think it helps a lot because there's a lot of cognates, and when we say cognates, it's a lot of words that sound the same, basically almost the same that they do in English and Spanish. And so a lot of times, like a word such as I guess. I can't think of one right now, but there's a lot of words that are when you say them in English, they're higher or academic level words, where in Spanish we use them every day. And we're like, oh, I know what that word means because in Spanish it means this. And I'm like, you know what? That's exactly right. In Spanish, it means that, but then in English, it also means the same thing. Because it's almost the same. It's maybe one or two letters that are changed, or maybe just a little bit the way it's sound. I don't have a list of comments, but I'm just saying, I guess when I did teach fourth grade, that was something that helped me a lot with my bilingual students. Because they're like, Ms. Cox, no sé, I don't know what, and I'm just giving an example. I guess infer. I don't know what infer means. Well, but yo sé que inferir it means this, and I'm like, you know what? Infer and inferir, they're almost spelled the same, and they almost sound the same. But guess what? It means the same thing in both languages. But it also can hurt some because there's also false cognates like embarrassed, embarazado. Those are very two different things. They sound the same, but they're two very different things. Embarrassed means I'm embarrassed. I'm not, you know what embarrassed means, but in Spanish, embarazado means pregnant. So there's just those things, and then they do tend to revert a lot to the Spanish, the bilingual kids. I don't know
The Spanish, like the sounds
or like today they said, este lápiz is Matthews. Like they code switch a lot, and sometimes they don't, when they're trying to glue. When they're trying to put sentence together, they'll say, it happened today at guided reading, I just can't think of the exact word what they said, but they're like, then your phone,
Because it's difficult for them, so it's easy for them to say maybe half of the sentence in English and half in Spanish, and because they can't say it, they don't know how to say it.
And if you all are in a small group and you have it with some English and Spanish, do you have, ask your friend how would you say that? Or
yes, we have. That's another thing. Since we are a dual language, we have partners, and so the kids do have we partner them up with. We have an English dominant kid and a Spanish dominant kid. So what happens is in my English class, when my Spanish kid doesn't know how to say something in English, then they'll turn to their partner and say, hey, I need to say this, and then the partner will help them how to say it in English the correct way. And then when they go to Miss Smith's class, it's the same way.
The same way, use Spanish. And then also when I need to say something to the students, but I cannot say it in English, even though I like to help them write it. So I use my students, say, how can you say that in English? And so then they say it in English, but I'm not saying it. They are helping them. You see what I'm saying? Like we use the students to help the friends understand what I'm trying to teach, because I'm not able to say it in English. She's not able to say it in Spanish.
I'm not able to speak Spanish, even though I do know how to speak Spanish. I can't do it. But then I'd say, hey, can you hear my English friend? Can you please talk to your partner and try to explain to them how to do it? Or,
And it's now, are in some cases that you really do need to break that rule for yourselves?
The only time we ever do that is when we have to do discipline kids.
But it has to be like, just talk to the students
separately. Like we'll pull them out.
Not whole group.
In that whole group, we pull them aside and we talk to them, and then in order to assure that they're understanding why they're getting in trouble or why we're having to discipline them, we have to speak to them in their native language.
Thank you. What type of motivation do you find is the most noticeable for your students, both English and Spanish?
Us being excited about teaching whatever it is that we're teaching. Even though it might be boring to us, it's always having to say, hey, we're learning something fun.
You know, like I like to tell students, vamos a aprender algo bien emocionante, like so excited, right? So they feel like, like it's gonna be something like, good.
We do a lot of acting.
So you're all very gesticular, and you're like very pumped.
We're very pumped about stuff. We're about our lessons, and a lot of hands-on. They need hands-on, especially kids who are kindergarten, 5-6-year-olds. They need hands-on because they could only sit and listen for like 5 minutes before they're like, okay, I'm done. So we have to make the activities engaging and interactive.
And one of the things that I like to use in my classroom a lot is music. Like everything we do, I like to sing, like anything. Like I like to put rhythm, whatever I'm talking to them is like, with music.
It is time. Last one. How familiar are you with, this is similar to the last, with the motivation and its role in the second language learning?
I've been teaching for 10 years, so it's become second nature to me, having visuals and being energetic about everything, and it's just having to sit and plan for your activities.
Have you found ways to have it be brought home with the students?
Yes,
In
they
case-
got, like, for example, some of them have these taken home. They're just little flashcards that we send home, but we make them into games. So they do go home.
And motivated to learn what they've been.
And for the Spanish, we use like the alphabet and videos, and I ask the parents to help me out. It's, home.
We send parents links and
Links
stuff
of
that
videos.
videos that
And
they
they can
can see at home.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, Ms. Cox.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.